Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are.
Today, I'm excited to talk about what makes Dimash's Passione so awesome. Here we go. Okay, so what have we set up so far musically and visually? We set up a few things. One, we have this sound that makes it sound religious. It is really kind of epic in nature at the beginning. Sounds holy. He walks out in this white suit that also has this kind of symbol of purity going on. It also feels really solemn because of how they're expressing their faces, how he's walking, how he's holding his body. It's so cool. At the same time, even though we're seeing the white colors, the solemnness, there's also this really vibrant color around it as well that really suggests life and culture and people and humanity. So picture this, if we changed it and the background was not color, was mostly just blacks and just spotlights, it'd have a very different feel to it, right? It would feel epic, but it'd feel colder, less human, more like we're in outer space, right? Something like that. So it's a really exciting start that sets up this really epic feeling. Let's see what else happens.
Attraverserai tradimenti e fedeltà, quasi negherai in un mare di bugie, poi arriverai dove il cuor ti porterà e per te sarà più bello che ci sia. Sì.
Wow. There's more here to talk about than we have time to talk about just here at the start. The background of these human bodies floating up into heaven by flame, going below them. Wow. I mean, it's just a really potent visual picture here that we're seeing. Vocally, what's going on, he starts off with this really breathy sound, right? It's taller in back with this oral pharynx. So it has more of that tall yawn feeling in it rather than the pop smile in back in it. It's a little bit more muted and covered here, even when he gets more rich and robust, which gives us this warmer, richer amplification of these lower frequencies and makes it sound more dramatic. It's really interesting to me here at the start how we hear this kind of breathy sound without anything behind it. Again, he can use this breathy, softer, more intimate sound because there's nothing below it. But then really quickly, he kind of gets us into this clearer, cleaner, more full sound. Awesome. So how can you apply this today? Well, play with this back and forth of going from being breathy to trying to speed up that airflow and see if you can go to having a cleaner sound within a single phrase. Also, go from being relatively collapsed in back to nice and tall here in the back with that yawn. Also explore with the idea of placement going from a backward placement where we're trying to get it to resonate here in the back of our throat, right back, and maybe even a little further up, and a more forward resonance. And as you're exploring back and forth, just pay attention to what changes, what shifts. Is it easier here? Is it hard here? Are there ways to get that sound so it's easier here? This process of exploration creates a word bank of sensation here, so that as your body is trying to find the right expressive sound and color, when you go to sing, it's already experienced that and explored that, and you found what you can do while keeping it easy. If you never try it, if you never really explore these wide, different vocal colors, getting them while you're performing is going to be much more difficult and probably isn't going to happen. Our body, especially in performance situations, doesn't do very well with giving us brand new sensations and reacting to new cues and what we're wanting to do. It's a stressful situation. It really relies on muscle memory. So building that muscle memory, not just of trying to do everything right every time, which is good. That's great. Especially if you have a voice teacher or coach that you're working with, do what they're telling you to do. Get it nice and healthy and consistent. That's excellent. And especially for young singers, it's really important to learn how to get it consistent from the very start. But at the same time, we really want to have the widest color palette we possibly can for expression. So don't neglect exploring that within the parameters, hopefully, that your coach or teacher are working with you on to keep it easy and healthy. So classic Dimash. He just gives us this really full, operatic, glorious sound. Then on a dime switches to a totally new technique. Love it. It is so cool. So cool. So what is it that changed? What I want you to try to do here as you're listening to this next section is really try to imagine what it would feel like in your mouth and your voice to make the same sound he just made. Try to imitate what he was doing here in the front of his mouth. Try to imagine what it would feel like in the back and see what that sound feels like. Now then, in this next section, try to do the same thing here as well. This is actually the first time I've seen it, so I'm seeing it for the first time through. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm wanting to view it as a new audience member, as an audience member seeing it for the first time. So hopefully together with you, we're seeing what is being communicated and intended for an audience who's never seen it before. A lot of times when we're analyzing, we're looking at it, it's in hindsight, we're thinking through it, which is good. It has its value in analyzing that way. But the majority of audiences and performances are meant for an audience to see for the first time, right? So really, the most valid critique is from someone seeing it and reacting in real time as an audience member saying, this is what it's communicating to me. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. And so that's why we're doing this. I don't do that with all my reactions, but with this one, I was just so excited to get to it. I had some viewers recommending it and it looked awesome. And so here we are.
Dentro il gesta che farai, non voltarti se la paura chiamerà. Cosa vuoi ci sia, questa storia ti darà.
Not pop. He started, he kind of psyched me out, thinking that he was singing that more pop style. And you'll notice at the beginning of this last section, there was a little bit more wideness here in front. There's a little less of this tuck of the lips in that you're noticing here with this classical style. It's not as wide, not as much of the top tooth. It's more just these front set of teeth that he's using to get this more classical sound. Interesting. Try it out. See what happens. See what happens when you get these teeth out and kind of tuck. It's a smile with the corners of our lips tucked in a little bit. That gives us some of that sound. That's one way to approach making this sound, and you'll hear that from different voice teachers of these tucked lip corners. Give it a try. See what it does for you. before we get to this next section, because it looks like we're going somewhere different, what just happened? Well, my first question for you is actually this. If you were listening to Dimash singing this song, what voice type would you say he is? I think most people say, well, he's a baritone. No doubt. Then you listen to other things that he sings. Would you say the same thing? This is one of the real tricky things about categorizing people in voice types. It's important, it's essential, especially when we're dealing with businesses like opera, where people who are making decisions have to see a bunch of people all the time, and we're really getting these voices to try to specialize in specific characters and find what is really best for these voices. But we have singers throughout time where they show us that that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. Why isn't it the best way to go about it? Well, because voices are actually much more malleable than that. They aren't necessarily meant to just be stuck in one little teeny tiny box. We have singers from the past in opera singing operatic roles and soprano roles all the way to Carmen. Maria Callas sings all kinds of stuff all over the board. Here we're listening to Dimash, who's also showing the same thing where depending on what you're doing with your technique and what's happening there, access to different parts of our voice, sounds, and colors all of a sudden emerge. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say here is if you have to put yourself and categorize yourself in a specific box, that's fine. There are reasons to do that. But especially if you're a starting singer, don't worry so much about what your voice type is. Well, am I soprano? Am I tenor? Am I baritone? Am I bass? I don't know. Just put that off to the side and really work on getting efficient, healthy technique that opens as many high notes, that opens as many low notes, gets your voice as consistent across the range, and lets your voice be as expressive as possible. As you'll do that, you'll notice, A, that your voice has a lot more capacity than you probably thought it did. B, that if you do have to categorize your voice, that you're then going to find where your voice is most comfortable, most resonant, and where you really like to live most, and make the decision that way rather than what notes can I sing or not sing. I think here with Dimash, you'll notice with his heavier style, this richer, fuller, thyroarytenoid dominant sound, he sounds like a baritone. But he just proves that all over the place. And so what would we categorize him with? Who knows? Whatever he feels like singing in the moment, probably. And I think that's really, really exciting. Anything to me that makes it so the human ability is bigger and more full than we like to make it, that breaks the human limitations and shows us that we are capable of so much more than we're told. Gotta love it. I think it's awesome. I love watching people perform that bring that thought, those feelings, that connection back to my brain. And when I watch Dimash, that's what I think of. Love it. Second thing that I want to talk about here is the speaking interject. Why would you put speech in the middle of a song? It's contrast, right? It's really cool, especially this really dramatic speaking. Oh my goodness. It's so great to hear this warm, rich sound, but then this really expressive speaking pops out of the texture and really hones our brain on the message so that this other glorious music that's happening behind it, it becomes a backdrop. So the spoken text becomes this really clear figure, this really clear line with this really epic scene happening behind it. To me, that's what's going on in my ears. Love it. Whoa. So many things that they're playing on here. They're really tapping to all the human senses here. It is epic. I mean, I keep saying the word epic because this is so epic. This is amazing. What is this kid coming out? It could be a lot of things. But what is fascinating to me is they keep playing with the sense of time. When it gets silent, when it pulls off, when we're focused back into someone breathing and that sound, they're really disorienting us in time. That steady beat of this song is being broken up and taken. So it feels like we're having flashbacks or flash forwards or that time is stopping altogether. And that, again, really gets us this sense of epicness, meaning it's covering vast time differences. It's covering vast emotional and stylistic differences. It's just covering the whole vast experience of humanity, which is pretty mind-blowing. To me, I'm listening to this and thinking this is genius. This, as an audience member seeing it for the first time, is just so engaging, so enthralling. I don't want to stop it, but at the same time, I want to stop it because it's so cool. There's so many cool things to talk about. Love this. Baritone? Countertenor? Here goes Dimash again, defying definitions and limitations. Okay, I can talk about his singing here. It's amazing. We see this glorious high singing a lot, and we've talked about it in some other videos. People get really mad at me when I don't talk about his whistle tone. I'm still not going to talk about it. There are some specific reasons that I'm not going to talk about it because a lot of other people talk about it. A. B, because when we're talking about registration, what's really going on in his voice there, I think it's pretty debatable what's happening and what's going on. And unless we're putting something down his throat and really seeing what's going on in real time, I think it's going to be really tough to really talk about what's going on. But what I am most interested in is how can you accomplish the same thing and what is he communicating and how is he going about doing it? So really pay attention as you're listening here on what is happening with the breath flow, where is that placement, and imagine what that feels like. What you're going to notice is the sensation there is going to feel really tiny, teeny, and narrow. It's going to feel whiny. It's going to feel really unsubstantial in your body. Why? Because they're higher frequencies. So really trusting that breath flow, really trying to get things open and free and easy and moving are going to be the big keys that are going to unlock these higher notes for you. Also, really working slowly on doing slides up, probably about a major second, minor third, major third, up a half step at a time, sliding up, making sure that at no point you're feeling this throat want to close and grab. If it is, back down a half step, redo slides on those thirds until you can negotiate up to the higher note without feeling this constriction, without feeling tightness grab. One way to picture it is as you're going up, imagine that you're yawning just a little bit more, that you're feeling a stretch open as you go higher. That's going to balance out the natural tendency to want to close and tighten on those high notes. Okay, notice here, this baritone kind of tallness, this more back placement. It still has forward buzz in it. It's not swallowed, but it has more richness, a taller dome in the back, and the kind of pull down here on the lips and the tuck of the lips here on the side are gone. To get these higher notes here and to get this sound that he's getting, this more pop-like sound, this brighter, richer, squealy sound, you'll notice the whole row of top teeth comes out. It's in the back, that tongue is forward, he's just getting out of the way, right? That's what's going on here. So why is this the case? Well, again, those bottom richer notes, he's engaging the thyroid arytenoid. That's getting this thicker, heavier, meatier sound. In the higher notes, he has to engage the cricothyroid muscles that are going to help lengthen and thin out those vocal cords and let him get those higher notes. If he tries to sing in the same way that gets those thyroid arytenoid muscles to engage on this top, it's just not going to work. Those vocal folds won't get into the shape they need to. Pressure and tension can only get him so high, and so it just wouldn't work. So that's why he's doing what he's doing, because otherwise it wouldn't work. Do we notice it? Does he draw a lot of attention to it? No, he doesn't. He makes it part of the expression, part of what he's doing, and that is also what makes it so exciting and engaging, is that he is not purposely trying to draw attention to the technique. He's using the drama and the technique seamlessly, which is really, really exciting.
Attraverserai tradimenti e fedeltà. tua se negherai in un mare di bugie, poi arriverai dove il cuore ti porterà e per te sarà più bello che ci sia.
This is another thing that I wanted to point out here. You'll notice he's actually not moving a lot on the stage here. He's staying relatively still and calm. There's a few reasons for that. One, stage design-wise, you'll notice that in the back here, there are these tall kind of white pillar elements in there. They're framing him perfectly. Number two is there is so much going on around him, it'd be too much to look at. What's awesome here and what I love is that because they're in white and because they're framed in these positions, our focus is on Dimash. We also have Igor over to the side in white and doing his thing, which is always kind of understated, but really sensitive and lovely. And so we have a really clear focal point to come back to every time the attention is there. And so when it does really get really big and busy with what's going on behind him, we can see that. We can take it in. We can really process it. It can really move us without us losing him as the focal point. He still stays the focal point with all this stuff going around. So I love the stage design here. I think it's brilliant and really captures what he's doing. I love that he's taking advantage of the stage design because a lot of times with performers, they just do their thing regardless of the stage design. And that means that the performance isn't going to work as well. A. B, it usually means they're working harder than they have to. They're working harder and getting a worse result. Here with him, he is working less in terms of physical action and movement and getting a better result because of it. So more is not always better. Often less is more. And here he's showing that. Does that mean he's disconnecting and not doing anything? Obviously not. He's doing a lot expressively with his arms, his hands, his body, his voice, his face. But he's not doing a ton with his feet. A lot of performers, what they do first is they get expressive with their feet. Why? Because they're nervous and that helps them kind of relieve those nerves. Not the way we want to go. We want to be expressive first with our face and then move down our body. So actually our feet moving and taking us somewhere is the last or least important movement and way to express something. So he's demonstrating this brilliantly. Okay, it goes down to a knee, which also kind of gives the sense of decrescendo physically, as well as the emotional context that he's giving as well. So really, really cool kind of finish and change in levels here.
Игорь Крутой, друзья, Димаш, молодежный хор города Сочи. Ваши аплодисменты громче.
Спасибо! Спасибо большое. Дорогие друзья, невероятное чувство испытываю, честно говоря, каждый раз, выходя перед вами и петь для таких благодарных слушателей, как вы. Спасибо большое. Приезжайте в Казахстан. Маэстро Игорь Яковлевич, огромное вам спасибо. Спасибо всем Дирс. Люблю вас!
Димаш!
Игорь Крутой!
И хор города Сочи!
Finally, I love how he acknowledges the audience, how he acknowledges Maestro Krutoy, and I think it just shows so much humility and gratitude towards the people around him, which also is something that all his fans adore and make him adore him even more. So, love what I saw. Hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you want a voice lesson or performance coaching or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com. Also, don't forget to check out Scale About. It's a great way to reach out to me and ask me some of your specific questions and make sure that I answer what you're wanting to know. And it's a great way for you to test out and see if I can help you and if lessons would be a good choice for you. So don't forget Scale About and check out my Amino channel. I look forward to working with you online.